Hi, I'm Susan Schaefer from www.sett.com/waitingformyowl. Seminary Dropout is supported by listeners like you and me. You should support the show like I did. It's easy. Just visit supportseminarydropout.com.
You're listening to Seminary Dropout, episode 60, and I'm your host, Shane Blackshear. This week on the show, Shauna Niequist talks about being on the Relevant podcast, her life growing up, and being uncomfortable calling herself a writer.
We'd be somewhere and they'd be like, what do you do? I was like, oh, well, nothing. And you'd be like, no, she actually writes books. I'm like, oh, well, I do that. But
I've also been published several times.
But then again, inevitably, someone's like, really? Can I buy it at the airport? No. Is it like Harry Potter? No.
All this and more on this week's episode of Seminary Dropout. Let's go. Shauna Niequist is the author of Cold Tangerines, Bittersweet, and Bread and Wine. Shauna grew up in Barrington, Illinois. Her and her husband, Aaron, live outside Chicago with their sons, Henry and Mac. Shauna writes about the beautiful and broken moments of everyday life: friendship, family, faith, food, marriage, love, babies, books, celebration, heartache, and all the other things that shape us, delight us, and reveal to us the heart of God. Shauna Niequist, thanks so much for joining me on the show today.
No problem. And I hate to say this, but it's Niequist.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
No, I normally don't tell people, but then it'll be like, 2 hours.
I'll say it like 3 times.
I know.
Well, the thing is, I knew that. I mean, for one, I hear your name on the Relevant podcast all the time. I was at a conference that your husband was at earlier this summer, so I should really know better.
No one gets it right. No one ever. Like 0% of the time. So it doesn't bother me. I mean, I literally answer to anything, but I would hate for you to say it many, many times. And at the end, you're like, ah. So,
I'm very glad you corrected me. Thank you. So you've published more than a few books now. I've noticed that a common link in a lot of your books is that you like to talk about food.
True.
What is it about food that's important to you, and also that is the spiritual link of food is interesting to you?
I think there's a couple different things. One of them is, I think it's a really, one of the things I say often is part of being a grown-up is letting yourself love what you love. There's a great Mary Oliver line that says, you do not have to be good. You just have to let the soft animal of yourself love what it loves. And I love to eat. I love to be around food. I love to go to grocery stores. It's just part of how I was made. Like, I have friends who genuinely love hot yoga. I don't genuinely love hot yoga, I love to eat. And so part of my growing up and even healing is admitting that and saying it's just part of how I was made. And I don't know why, but it matters to me. And then I think another part of it is, I feel like it's very easy in the particular kind of stripe of evangelical Protestant, and all those words are sort of charged and unhelpful. But, the kind of little tradition that I grew up in was so focused on our minds and our beliefs and not particularly connected to our bodies and our tactile world. There's this idea that spiritual things are invisible, and there's just like the plain old stupid real world, And the God of the universe made this world, which makes it not plain and not stupid and very much worth valuing. And so I think food is just one of many, in the same way that I love food, I love flowers, I love sand, I love watching my kids play in the dirt and climb trees. And I think this actual tactile, physical world is deeply spiritual. And so food is one part of that, but it all is. I don't think it's lacking in a sense of spirituality to care deeply for our material world. I think the two go together. And I think when we try to segment them too much, we miss out on a lot of the way God made the world. And then I think probably the third thing, you can tell I'm excited about this, is I think our lives change around the table. Particularly when I went through a very difficult season of infertility and losing a job that I loved and all kinds of it felt to me like the things that mattered to me were breaking apart. God met me at the table when people that I loved sat around the table, let me cry or made me laugh or just let me tell the same old story again and again, or told me the truth about their stories. I feel like the healing that God did in my life largely happened over food at the table with people that I loved. And so I believe it's one of God's greatest tools, that he can use that time we spend together to do his work in us.
Do you think, and you've not written specifically about this, but just the things that you're saying make me want to ask this question, that perhaps our disassociation with spiritual things from the physical, from food specifically, contribute to us having a lot of dysfunctional relationships with food? Whether that's too much or too little?
Totally. I think our culture has a really, really troubling view toward food in a couple different ways right now. It's very fashionable to be starving. If you're a female celebrity, every time I open a magazine, you get to hear diet tips from incredibly thin women. Who part of their professional responsibility is to look, near dead. That I don't think that's good for us, especially when so much of the world is legitimately starving.
Yeah.
Like there's a weird thing that's going on, and where we think of food as such a bad thing. If you're hungry, that's shameful. If you're obese, it's a character issue. I think that's awful. I think God made so many different kinds of bodies, and he made them to run on food. And we have lost track of that so remarkably. So I think some of the reason, I know this sounds crazy. I don't know if you've had this experience, but I think men experience it less. But for me, there's something transforming about sitting around the table with women, because a lot of women are afraid to eat in front of people. Mm. They're afraid to admit, hey, I need food, or I love it, or I have desire, or you know what I mean? Like, let's meet and go jogging. Let's meet and go buy things. Let's meet and get our nails done. Those are acceptable. But a lot of women, it makes them nervous to have people see them eat. And I'm so deeply committed to our table being a place where we feed people. I will feed you here, and it's safe for you to eat here. It's safe for you to be hungry here. It's safe for you to admit your need to be fed.
Yeah. There's a lot of powerful stuff in that. I'm curious to know if you've always seen yourself as a writer, or if that came about at a later time and when that was.
I've always seen myself as a book person and as a reader primarily. Yeah. And I'm not a writer like someone becomes a pastor and their messages are really good, and so someone says that should be turned into a book. I'm like I was the kid who got in trouble for checking out too many library books.
Yeah.
My parents had to take away my flashlight because I would read under the covers. I'm a pure book lover and a pure reader and writer, because words are just my thing. So I would say I was always a writer in the sense that I wrote all growing up. It's always the way I've made sense of things. I've loved words. I studied English and French literature in college. At the same time, it took till maybe a year ago where if I sat next to someone on the airplane, I would finally tell them I was a real writer, because it feels so sort of preposterous. And then always, what happens is they're like, oh, have I heard of you? And you're like, no, definitely not, But, my husband would elbow me because we'd be somewhere and they'd be like, what do you do? I was like, oh, well, nothing. And he'd be like, no, she actually writes books. I'm like, oh, well, I do that. But I think it just sounds so
I've also
strange.
been published several times.
But then again, inevitably, someone's like, really? Can I buy it at the airport? No. Is it like Harry Potter? No. So, yeah.
Maybe you should get into young adult fiction so you can say, yeah, sure, it is like Harry Potter.
Yeah, it's exactly like Harry Potter, except with vampires. It's amazing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. You got a new book coming out that maybe early next year. Savor, is that right?
Yeah. It's a devotional,
Okay.
which I did not. I've always one of the one of the first bad reviews I ever got from on Cold Tangerines is someone said this is a terrible devotional, and I was like, well, yes, it's an awful devotional. It's a true, yeah. That it's like saying Harry Potter is also a terrible devotional.
War and
like,
Peace, awful devotional.
right? Like Cold Tangerines, terrible how-to manual for bike repair. Of course, yeah. So I take the concept of a devotional seriously, and I wanted to do a good job on it. But I'm really happy with the way it's coming out, and so it comes out early next spring. And one of the things that I'm excited about is it has 24 recipes in it. So it's one of those like 365 devotionals. So there's one for every day, but 24 recipes means that every 2 weeks there's a recipe. Because again, I don't think our spiritual lives happen in isolation. So I don't want the book to only exist on your nightstand. I want you to bring it into the kitchen, and then I want you to fill your table and your home with people, because again, so I think that we've kind of screwed up the material spiritual divide. I think we've also made spirituality a little too private, a little too individual.
Yeah.
And so I like the idea, like my spiritual life doesn't only happen when I'm reading a devotional. It happens around the table, and it happens on phone calls with good friends. And so I'm excited to kind of help people be devoted both alone and together.
That seems like quite a project to undertake, writing 365 devotionals. Has it taken a long time?
Well, it's a compilation. So
Okay.
it's pulled like little snippets and paragraphs from my first 3 books.
Okay.
And then there's a fair amount of new content. So it's from some recent talks and messages I've done in the last year, from a couple blog posts, from some totally new stuff, and then from the 3 books. And so, yeah. It would be totally crazy. When they first told me that, they were like, we'd love you to put together, it's like 365. And I was like, that will take me a decade. But no, you work together with a team and they help pull the content together. So I'm excited about it. They made it very easy.
That sounds great. And that's going to be this fall, you said, or next fall?
This spring. We're finalizing it this fall, like in the next 3 weeks or so, and then it'll be available for spring. I think the idea is, I hope, like Easter, Mother's Day, graduation gift, that kind of thing. Something that you can put in the hands of a woman that you love and say, like, I hope this kind of keeps you company throughout your day.
Yeah. I'm really curious about what your upbringing was like. I think most people know that your father is a very well-known pastor. I grew up in a small town in West Texas, and my dad was the mayor of the town. And so I was kind of used to people knowing a lot more about me than I knew about them. I can only imagine for you that it was like that times infinity. For your father to be, nationally, internationally recognized, and you probably having a lot of people who you maybe don't know very well, don't know at all, but know a lot about you, and then having maybe the expectations of not only you a pastor's kid, but a very well-known pastor's kid. What was that like?
Well, first, I think it's so cool that your dad was a mayor. That's awesome.
Yeah, part-time, small town Texas. It was glamorous.
I love it. It sounds very like Friday Night Lights to me. That's like most of what I know about Texas is what I know from Friday Night Lights.
Not far off, West Texas. So, yep, not far off at all.
Awesome. No, it's a good question. I mean, I was actually just thinking about it. I was sending a text while we were recording because my dad and my brother are coming over for lunch last minute. And I mean, I just adore my family. They're my best friends. We spend a lot of time together. I talk to my mom and my dad and my brother every day. My brother lives on our street. You can walk to our church. We're very connected. And some of the reason that we're so connected is because we share kind of a weirdo history, only Todd and I know what it's like to grow up in this kind of funny little world. And we kind of kept each other company through it. And our family spent a lot of time alone together in a really good way. I did not feel like we were at church all the time. I didn't at all feel like our house was public. Like our house was really quiet. We spent a lot of time together, just the four of us. We played softball in the driveway. We, like we just, my parents did a really good job of making our life feel private and connected. And I think that helped us a lot. We did not feel like we were at the beck and call of every church member, or like everyone was watching us, or that. And then the other thing is they did a really good job of communicating to us that our spiritual journey was our own. That we were not staff members. We didn't have to live up to the standards of staff members. We weren't pastors. We weren't ambassadors on behalf of the church. I know that both with my brother and I, both in high school, there were little seasons where we were not model kids. And I think at one point, one of the elders asked my dad about it. And my dad said, like, they're not staff members.
Yeah.
They don't have to live up to a particular code of conduct. What they have to do is walk their own path so that they can become functional adult Christians. And we have to let them do that. And when I look back at some of the stuff, I really pushed them pretty hard, and they rolled with a lot. They played it cool and prayed and gave me a lot of space. And I think I was one of those kids that really needed it. I needed the space. I needed to make some mistakes. I needed to do it the hard way. And they gave me the space to do that. And I'm so thankful for that. One of the things that I always tell, sometimes, pastors will ask me like, so you and Todd seem like vaguely functional adults. Like, how did this happen? Like, well, that's a matter of speaking. But my parents protected us from other people's expectations a lot. And I think that's something to keep in mind. If you're raising pastors' kids, everybody else has expectations for them all the time, everywhere they go. Your kids get asked to pray everywhere they go, as though that's like part of their genetics. You know what I mean? Like, I don't ask my friends whose dads are doctors to like diagnose me, right?
Hey, could you take a look at this rash?
Right? Totally. But we do that with pastors. We assume that their kids want to pray for the meal at a 6-year-old birthday party or something, and everybody else brings their expectations to it. And so as parents, you have to protect your kids from that. You have to build that boundary around your family life and say, hey, the expectations stop when you come in this door and you're safe here. And that my parents did that so well. I'm so thankful. How
did you meet Aaron, your husband?
We started on staff at Willow on the same day after college. So he grew up around here. We went to like rival high schools. We have tons of mutual friends. We had just never met. And then after college, we both started in the high school ministry on the same day.
You and he together, I think it's part of his job, but you're also helping to start this thing called The Practice at Willow, which sounds really exciting. Tell us what The Practice is about.
Oh, it's amazing. And frankly, you should talk to him about it because he's so much more articulate about it. He would love that. But, so I would say part of his spiritual journey, he grew up in like a Plymouth Brethren background, very conservative, came to Willow. We worked at Mars Hill in Grand Rapids for a while, came back to Willow, and Aaron kept finding along the way that kind of the path toward spiritual growth for him was all about spiritual practices. Very Dallas Willard, a lot of Catholic traditions. He started meeting with a spiritual director, a Jesuit priest, and he found that spiritual practices, like a daily order of prayer, meeting with the spiritual director, those were the things that were really keeping him alive spiritually. And so he said, I think maybe I'm not alone. And I think there might be a little group of people at Willow that are drawn to liturgy, contemplation, a very ecumenical learning from different parts of the Christian tradition. And so it's a Sunday night gathering. It's in the chapel. So it's like the most kind of traditional space on our church campus. It's in the round. And the Eucharist table is right in the center. And so we gather on Sunday nights, and we joke, it's like the kookiest group of people. Like, you don't even know. We're like, I don't even know how this group all got assembled. And we go through a liturgy, and each time there's not like a full message. There's like my Catholic friends would call it the homily. It's like a 15-minute thing where someone comes and teaches one practice, then we do that practice, and then we do the Eucharist and the closing liturgy. And so he always says it's spirituality. It's a gathering that's a gymnasium, not a classroom. So let's get together and practice. Let's practice centering prayer. And then let's give people the tools to do it throughout the week. And then the next week we talk about, how did that go? How did centering prayer go in your life? And then we do Lectio Divina. We do it in the room. Someone teaches us, we do it, and then we do it throughout the week on our own. So the idea is to give people sort of a tool belt of practices, not more information, but more skills by which to pursue discipleship.
I'm curious what kind of people you've seen be attracted to that. Are they people who have had some kind of a liturgical background, maybe come from Catholicism or something like that? Or are they maybe people like you and me who we've been hardcore Protestant all our life, but have discovered something really new and meaningful in those practices?
I think it's more the latter, mostly because, and this gets into a whole different discussion that's been very fascinating, but a lot of people came to Willow from a Catholic experience. That, obviously tons of people in our area are having thriving, wonderful Catholic experiences. Mm-hmm. But a lot of people who came to Willow came because they preferred a little bit more kind of that experience as opposed to the more traditional Catholic one. Mm-hmm. So that group of people is not particularly interested in reclaiming some of that stuff, we have found.
Gotcha.
But I think there's people like you and I and Aaron who are so drawn to it because we've never experienced it. To me, it's so beautiful and it's so mystical, and I love the routine of it because I've never experienced it ever, So I think it's more that.
Yeah. How long have you guys been doing the practice? It's fairly new, or is it? Oh my
gosh! Like we did it without even publicizing it, starting in March. Like it was just an email. So we just started. We just started in March, and now in September, we'll kind of start in a little bit more robust way. We just made the first announcement about it at church in August. So yeah, it's been so fun. It's been a really cool thing. It's just always fun to be a part of a church community that says, let's try new things.
Yeah.
Is there a need? Is there a group of people who want to try things a new way? Let's do it. So we're so thankful that our church has said, we're going to keep doing things a particular way on Sunday mornings, but if you want to try it another way for another group of people, we would love that. So it's been really fun.
Well, I think that's part of what I was thinking about when you were telling me, is that it speaks a lot of Willow Creek as a whole to have such an open hand toward those things, toward new things, toward alternative things and that kind of deal, to be able to say, yeah, let's do that. Let's try that. It's something that I feel like a lot of churches wouldn't go for.
One of the things that we talk about around Willow is making sure that we understand what the Willow DNA is. And the Willow DNA is not a particular style of ministry. It's doing whatever we can do and bending over backwards to help people connect with God in authentic ways. That's the DNA. So it's not a particular style of service or music or gathering. The through line always has to be, are we bending over backwards to help every different kind of person connect authentically with God? So I think this is just another kind of demonstration of that. And I'm really thankful for that.
I'm curious about what your day-to-day is like. Are you blogging on a daily basis, or working on the blog, or working on the book?
I'm the world's worst blogger. I have so much respect for real bloggers, and I'm just terrible at it. I think maybe it's because I learned book writing before I learned blogging. Yeah. And so I'm very comfortable with the idea of having a whole year to make something. And the idea of just having the content that people are putting out on a regular basis just blows my mind. I just can't even do it. So all that to say is I'm not a great blogger, but actually you're catching me kind of in between projects. On next Tuesday, I'm going to start this new book, which I am so excited about. I just signed a contract for it. So from September till the end of June, I'm working on a new book. And so I'm not traveling much. Last year I did 50 events and 40 trips. And this year I'm doing 10, which feels so good. Yeah. So this year is home on my couch with my laptop, digging into this new book. So that's what my day-to-day will be.
Does that suit you? Can you hunker down like that? Or do you need interaction? Is that going to be hard for you to do that?
Well, we have two little kids.
Yeah.
And we live, I live in my hometown. My cousins are around, my brother's around. We have a Thursday night small group that meets around our table every week. So the days are really quiet. The kids go to school and I am like totally hunkered down. And then the nights and the weekends are so fun and full, and that balance really works for me. What worked less and less well for me was the constant traveling. Not because I don't like traveling, because I don't like what I miss here. You spend a lot of time with wonderful people that are not a part of your daily life.
Right.
And that's just not, for me, not the best way to live. If I'm going to spend time with people, I want it to be the people I'm making a long-term investment in.
I mentioned earlier that I hear you and your name on the Relevant podcast often. I remember before you started joining them fairly regularly that Cameron, the founder of Relevant, was telling the audience, hey, we really want a woman's voice here, but you can't just get anybody. It takes a kind of skill to be on a podcast and do the kind of things that they're doing. And you turned out to be that person. I'm curious, did you know those guys before, or how did they approach you?
It's the funniest thing. First of all, I had never listened to it, like literally never, didn't know anything about it. And then Cameron and I became friends like a year and a half ago. He went on a sabbatical and asked me if I would help edit the magazine in his absence, just for a couple months. He had never not been involved just at the very last minute with every single last little thing. And they have a great team. He said, I'm not worried about the team. I just need one person who hasn't been seeing it come together, just see the final product. And because at a certain point, you just lose objectivity if you've been working on it. He just needed fresh eyes. So I'm like, sure, I can do that just while you're on sabbatical. And then ended up really liking it. And so I stayed on for almost a year, maybe a little bit less than that. And so I got to know some of the team. And then Cameron called me on like a Tuesday afternoon and was like, hey, I was supposed to call you about this. I totally forgot. Would you want to be on our podcast? I was like, oh, that sounds so fun. Great. And he's like, it's tomorrow. I'm like, okay, great. And I completely thought he meant like one time.
Sure.
And so I went back and I listened to one episode and I got a mic and, and then I was like, oh, wait, now I do this. So I knew Cameron and I knew Chad because he had come into town with Cameron for something and we'd had dinner, but I had never met Jesse or Eddie or Tyler. And I still have never met Eddie. I've never seen him face to face. But just a couple weeks ago, Jesse and Tyler and Cameron came to Chicago. So I finally got to like sit at a table with Jesse and Tyler, which was really fun. And it has just ended up being a really fun thing to do. Like it's my days, I'm working so hard. I'm trying to be so structured. And it's really fun to have like a little break on a Wednesday morning they're like the funniest people I've ever met. So I just basically giggle for 90 minutes, I think they're really, really talented, funny people. So it's been fun.
It seems like that would be a really good kind of outlet for you because I mean, it seems like you probably don't have to really prepare anything. You just kind of have to show up and have fun with a bunch of people online, basically.
It's exactly that. It's super. Yeah. Yeah. And then obviously Chad has like the super hard job of editing this monstrosity. I mean, for a while, we're doing better now, but for a while, we would just record for hours. I'd be like, hey, my kids are getting off the bus. And I'm starving,
Well, it's funny because I talked to Jesse recently and I was telling him I didn't realize that you, till very recently, that only a few of them were actually in the studio together, but it's so tight. I think is the word that comes to mind.
Yeah.
And Jesse was saying, yeah, it's the editing is what does it. And you guys, you sound great. I mean, obviously the audio quality is great, but there's a difficulty when you are Skyping and talking online because you can't interject the way you would in real life.
Yeah.
And I can imagine that would be doubly hard when there's multiple people. It's not just one-on-one, but there's all these voices coming in, but you guys really you pull it together so well.
Well, I think you're exactly right that a lot of it is editing. Chad does a really good job. And then some of it is Cameron. I mean, they take it very seriously. Like it's such like a fun, silly, wacky thing. But for the first couple times I was on it, I was like, Cameron would say something about listening to it afterwards. I'm like, I'm not going to listen to it afterward.
Who's got time for that?
I was like, I remember. he's like, no, you're going to get better if you listen to it. And he was totally right. There are little things, just like you're bringing up, where like in a conversation that's not being recorded, you can kind of follow along with someone's question or one's conversation by saying like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I realized like the first couple of podcasts, I was just trying to be an active listener, but I'm interrupting on a constant basis. Like, yeah. Well, then you realize, okay, there's different ways to do that. There's different ways to sound like I'm still involved in the conversation. And actually, it's never been video. We don't even record video until now. So even like I'm noticing this conversation is, you're right that the nonverbal is a really important part of it, just being able to see each other. And I think that's going to help us a lot. I mean, it's just like now it's just like me staring into space in my pajamas in my living room, Yeah. I think the video is going to help us a lot.
That's cool. Well, the Relevant podcast is enormously successful. And I think it's a testament to all of you on the show and your chemistry as well, that the following is so great. And not even just the number of people it's a large number, but they're also very, very devoted listeners to the Relevant podcast.
That was like a total, my Twitter feed all of a sudden was just like a crazy place to be, because there's all these parody accounts and they're like, there's all these inside jokes and they're making graphics and they're making new names. I mean, it's like I was like, what's going on? Yeah. They've got their own very dedicated following.
And I can only imagine how, as for the Relevant business as a whole, how that's helped so much, because you all have been so successful in inviting people into the Relevant world. And I think they feel like they know you and they know Jesse and Cameron and all those guys. And that really means a lot, especially in the age of new media, to have that personal connection.
I think Cameron's biggest strength is he's a futurist and he's an innovator. I think when you look at what Relevant has done, he has been, they were one of the first, they're certainly the first Christian magazine to have a really great tablet platform. Yeah. I mean, really, really good. They were one of the first to have really great online content. His strength, they've always had really good design. He sees what's coming and he pushes Relevant out there really right into the unknown. And I think this is a new example of that, of using kind of new media to do something most magazines aren't doing.
Well, Shauna, I've had such a really good time talking with you about all your writing and your projects and all the things that are going on. Just before we go, so you've got next year Savers coming out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then what does the other project have a name?
Yeah. Thank you for asking. It's called Present Over Perfect. And that's kind of just been a theme in my life the last couple of years. And I don't think this will be the exact subtitle, but something like a spiritual journey from exhaustion and comparison to passion and compassion. I have needed to realign my faith and my view of myself in the world toward more grace, more forgiveness for myself, less pressure, less achieving, less. And I think this is common for men and women, but I especially see it. Women, mothers of young children, I think we're just exhausted, and we don't. I don't need to feel more guilty because I'm not being a good enough this. I'm not being good enough this. I'm not being good enough this. I'm also not being a good enough Christian. Mm-hmm. I think there's an aspect of faith that restores us and heals us, doesn't just shame us and make us think like there's more to do that we're falling behind on. And so my whole spiritual journey the last couple of years has been toward rest, toward permission, toward freedom, away from achieving, pushing, competing. And I'm excited to write about that in the next year.
I don't think we can hear enough about that, because we get more than enough messages the other way.
Totally. Absolutely. And, one of the gifts of writing is you get to live something as you write it. And any creative work is like that. So I feel like this will heal me. And not like fix me forever, but this will be a really healing, challenging journey for me that I'm excited about.
Is there a ballpark release date for that?
It'll be the next spring. So spring 2015 will be Savor, and then spring 2016 will be Present Over Perfect. And then that next fall will be sort of a smaller book on the same theme, kind of an ancillary product, and then a DVD after that. So we're like,
you're booked up for years.
I'm planned out. Totally. I'll be like 50 when the next time I'm a free agent, which is totally fine. No, this is work I'm excited about. So thanks for asking.
Of course. So I'll have links to Savor, because that's at least on Amazon right now.
It is.
And then to your blog as well. So for those listening, go to the show notes and I'll have links to all of Shauna's projects that are going on. Shauna, thanks so much for joining me today.
Totally. My pleasure.
If you listened to the show last week, you know I solicited some stories from you. I'm asking for that again. I'm collecting for a super secret, super cool, super huge project. I'm collecting stories of love. So if you have a story of a time where you showed love to someone or it was shown to you, please send it to me in 200 words or less at shane@shaneblackshear.com. I'm collecting these stories, and I will, I'll definitely reply to you no matter what. And I may or may not be able to use your story, just depending on some criteria, but go ahead and send those stories to me. Now, it could be a huge story. I mean, maybe it's a story of someone sacrificing something huge, sacrificing their life, their livelihood, something like that. But maybe it's just a little more simple than that. Just someone showing sacrificial love. I'll give you a hint. Probably every one of you listening out there knows a story like this. Either you were shown love or you showed love to someone else. So please send me those stories. I need them. They will be used for something amazing in the future that I will announce probably pretty soon, in the next couple of months for sure. I want to remind you all that the Ragamuffin Retreat in Texas is coming up quick. It is November, which is next month, but the actual dates are the 7th through the 9th. So, I mean, pretty much next week, but there's still time to sign up. So make sure you go there. You can go to colorgreenfilms.com/retreats. colorgreenfilms.com/retreats. I will be there. I would love to meet you there. I hope you're going to be there. And if I don't know what kind of crowd is going to be there, if I don't know, but for sure, if you come, because you heard it on the show, please come and introduce yourself to me. I'm sure you can ask around. I mean, nobody really knows me, but you know what I look like probably from the website or something like that. So anyway, just yell my name out loud wherever you are, and maybe I'll be there. So yeah, Ragamuffin Retreats. Remember, you can get there, colorgreenfilms.com/retreats, and you can sign up there, get all the information. I would love to see you there. Okay, I need to thank DWenth90, DWENTH90, for giving the great review at iTunes. That was so kind. We're up to 112 ratings, which is fantastic. At some point this week, we're at 111 reviews, which is cool because it's a number that resembles corduroy, and so I like it. Okay, one last thing. I thank the people who are new supporters, and I thank those who write reviews and give ratings on iTunes. And I'm going to do something a little bit different. I want to thank someone who sent me the greatest email. I thought about reading it on air because it was so just heartwarming, kind. Someone telling me how much Seminary Dropout meant to her and her husband. So Janet Small, thank you so much, Janet, for writing that kind email. I hope you and David are listening right now and having a great day. All right, that's it. Please join me next week for another great episode of Seminary Dropout. Remember, this music is from D.L. Rossi. Be sure to go check him out on iTunes. All right, see you next week.